Imagine losing everything: your home, your security, your future, everything you know and love gone. And now, you have to choose. Follow an uncertain path, with no promises, no guarantees, or turn back and start over for nothing alone. This isn't just an ancient story, it's a real one. And this is exactly what happened to Ruth. She had every reason to give up, to think of herself, to take the easier path. But instead, she chose something that few do: loyalty. Ruth didn't follow the money, the comfort, or the promise of a reward. She followed a greater purpose, a true love, and that choice changed her life forever. What many don't realize is that this very decision unlocked blessings she could never have imagined. Now, think for a moment. What if the secret to healthy, lasting relationships was hidden in this story? What if the same principles that guided Ruth could also transform your life, the way you connect with people, and even your spiritual journey? If you've ever wondered why some people attract strong, meaningful relationships while others go through endless cycles of frustration, this video might hold the answer you've been searching for. Because within Ruth's story, there are 4 powerful steps that can help you attract true love, loyal friendships, and connections that truly matter. And the most incredible part? These steps aren't just emotional principles. They are backed by spiritual truths that show how faith and the right mindset can transform your reality. So, if you want a relationship that is more than just temporary, if you long for bonds that stand the test of time, whether in love, friendship, or even personal growth, then stay with me until the end of this video. Because today, you're going to discover the path to attracting real, divinely blessed connections. Before we continue, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of the upcoming biblical stories that can transform your life. Ruth had no idea what the future held for her. She had no promises, no guarantees, just an uncertain road ahead and a choice that defied all logic. But what she didn't know was that this decision, this simple act of faithfulness, would place her at the center of one of the greatest divine plans in history. Many people hear this story and think it's just about romance, about an unexpected encounter with Boaz that changed her life. But that surface-level interpretation misses the true meaning of Ruth's journey. Her story is not just about love, it's about purpose, about an invisible calling that led her to her destiny. Few realize that the same principles that governed Ruth's life are the very ones that shape how our own relationships unfold. Not just in love, but in friendships, family bonds, and even the connections that shape our professional growth. There are patterns that govern human and spiritual relationships, and when you learn to recognize and apply them, something extraordinary happens. So pay close attention, because in this video, we're going to explore the 4 essential steps that made Ruth an eternal example of loyalty, faith, and true connection. 4 principles that, when applied correctly, can completely transform the way you attract and sustain healthy, blessed relationships. And here's a warning. This isn't just about techniques. It's about a shift in mindset, a true inner transformation that aligns you with what God has already prepared for your life. But pay close attention. There's a detail in Ruth's story that almost no one notices, something that can completely change the way you see your own journey and the paths God is opening for you. At the end of this video, I'm going to reveal this secret, and I can guarantee it will make you see your life in a completely different way. Ruth was a Moabite, a woman who grew up in a different culture with different beliefs, in a land that did not share the same values as the people of Israel. She married an Israelite man, and for a while, she experienced a glimpse of a happy life. But then, suddenly, everything fell apart. Her husband died, leaving her a widow in a time when being a woman without a man to support her meant facing an uncertain and desolate future. The logical decision would have been to return to her parents' house, find a new husband, and start over from scratch, as was expected of a young widow in Moab. But Ruth didn't do that. Instead of taking the easy way out, she made a decision that would change the course of her life forever. She chose to stay with her mother-in-law, Naomi, and journey to a foreign land where she knew no one, where she would be seen as an outsider, where there was no promise of a secure future. To many, this decision seemed irrational. After all, Naomi had no more sons, no wealth, nothing to offer. But Ruth saw beyond the circumstances. She saw something deeper. She chose to stay out of loyalty, out of genuine love, and that choice became the key to her destiny. This is the first secret of divine attraction. True relationships are not built on convenience or self-interest. They are built on loyalty, commitment, and unwavering faith in what lies beyond our momentary vision. Today, many people seek connections only for what they can receive, but strong relationships are not based on immediate benefits. True love, whether in marriage, in friendship, or even in our relationship with God, is not about seeking only what serves us, but about being present even when there are no guarantees. Ruth had no idea what awaited her in Bethlehem. She had no guarantees that she would find someone to protect her, no assurance of a better life. But she did what few people do. She placed commitment above fear. She took a step toward the unknown and trusted that the path would be opened for her. And this is precisely what separates fleeting relationships from true connections. This is where we begin to understand the 4 steps that made Ruth an icon of healthy and lasting relationships. Because what happened next changed her story forever. Now, what if it were you? If you were in Ruth's place, given the chance to start over the easy way, surrounded by the comfort of what you already know, but instead, you had to choose an uncertain path, where all that remained was your faith. Think for a moment. What would you do? Would you risk everything, trusting that something greater is being prepared for you? Or would you turn back, seeking security in something predictable but without purpose? Today, many relationships are disposable. Friendships fall apart at the first disagreement. Marriages end for superficial reasons. Family bonds are broken out of pride and a lack of commitment. We live in an era where everything seems temporary, but the truth is that true connections are not a matter of chance. What if there was a pattern, a principle that ensured your relationships would be authentic, deep, and lasting? Maybe you've asked yourself, why do some people find strong relationships while I don't? Why do I always end up surrounded by people who don't truly value me? But what if the missing piece isn't luck, but an adjustment in the way you build your relationships? Ruth's story shows us that true connections don't happen by coincidence. They follow a spiritual principle, an invisible pattern that determines who stays by our side and who drifts away. And the question is, are you building relationships based on this pattern? Or are you repeating the same mistakes, expecting a different outcome? True relationships don't happen by chance. They are not built solely on fleeting emotions or temporary interests. Ruth's story teaches us that authentic and lasting connections follow deep spiritual principles. They are daily choices that shape the kind of relationships we cultivate and attract into our lives. The first principle is loyalty without self-interest. Ruth didn't choose to stay with Naomi out of convenience. There was no guarantee of a prosperous future alongside her widowed mother-in-law. Naomi had no wealth, no sons to offer her a new marriage, nothing to give except a sincere heart and a genuine bond. But for Ruth, that was enough. She chose to stay because her love and commitment were real. True relationships are not built on advantages, but on faithfulness, on being present even when there are no visible benefits. The second principle is humility to learn. When Ruth arrived in Bethlehem, she didn't expect privileges or demand anything. She could have complained about her situation, refused to work in the fields, or rebelled against her hardships. But instead, she placed herself in a position of learning. Many people miss out on great opportunities to build healthy relationships because they are unwilling to grow, to listen, or to change. Ruth understood that every true connection requires personal growth and transformation. The third principle is action and initiative. Ruth didn't sit around waiting for something miraculous to happen. She didn't expect someone to come and rescue her. She went to the fields to gather wheat, worked hard, endured exhaustion, and showed effort. And that's how Boaz noticed her. Relationships don't happen by accident. True connections are built with intention. If you want to attract loyal and trustworthy people, you must first become that kind of person. If you want respect, you must act with respect. If you seek love, you must demonstrate love. And finally, the fourth principle, trust in divine provision. At no point did Ruth try to manipulate her situation. She didn't force her way to Boaz or seek shortcuts to security. She simply did her part and trusted that God would open the right doors at the right time. And that's exactly what happened. The right love, the right opportunity, the right connection, all came to her at the appointed time. So often, people try to control what they cannot, fall into despair, or force relationships that aren't meant to be. But when you surrender control to God, when you truly trust, the right connections flow naturally. Loyalty, humility, initiative, and trust. These are the 4 steps that made Ruth an eternal example of blessed relationships. And these same principles can transform the way you connect with the people around you. Ruth could never have imagined what God was preparing for her. A foreign woman, a widow, without possessions, without prospects to the world. She was someone who had nothing. But to God, she was part of something far greater. After her journey of faith, loyalty, and obedience, Ruth not only found a new love with Boaz, but became the great-grandmother of King David. And more than that, she became part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. Pause for a moment and think about this. A Moabite, someone who, according to Israelite law, wasn't even supposed to be part of God's chosen people, was grafted into the story of salvation. This proves that God does not choose people based on their past, but on the heart they decide to have. This proves that when we follow the right principles, we don't just find healthy relationships. We also connect with a purpose far greater than we could ever imagine. Ruth began her journey simply wanting to be faithful to Naomi, but God had plans that went far beyond anything she could have dreamed of. And this leads us to an essential question. What if what you're going through today isn't the end, but just the beginning of something extraordinary? If you want to keep exploring biblical stories that reveal life-changing secrets, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. Here, every story brings powerful lessons that can completely change your path. Ruth teaches us that true relationships are not built on fleeting emotions, but on principles that stand the test of time. It's not about convenience. It's about loyalty. It's not about waiting. It's about taking action. It's not about control. It's about trust. If you want lasting connections, you must first become the kind of person who attracts them. You need to be someone who values commitment, who chooses to grow rather than just demand, who moves with purpose, and who trusts in God's timing, even when the road ahead seems uncertain. And maybe, just like Ruth, you are much closer to your purpose than you think. Maybe the challenges you're facing today are simply part of your preparation. Maybe what seems like an ending is actually the beginning of something extraordinary. Now tell me in the comments, which of these 4 steps do you need to apply most in your life today? What is missing for you to build the kind of connections that truly matter? And if you want to keep discovering biblical stories that can transform your life, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. Here, every video is a new step in your journey of growth, faith, and purpose. Don't miss the next one.